Hello and welcome to the Flory Models Friday catch-up show. Here we are with you on the 23rd of June 2023 after probably one of the busiest weeks I've had in years. As a lot of you know, we had Matt came down to see me on Monday and we spent, well, basically 2 solid days and evenings as well working on this full-on job about dioramas. As a lot of you know, I don't really do dioramas. My dioramas, I wouldn't even classify them as diorama. It's just something for him to sit on, and that's about as far as I've gone. Matt's got into it in a big way, and I think, you know, looking around at the hobby in general, they've just come so far. So it doesn't matter if you're like wargaming, you're into your aircraft, your armour, say doing dioramas or little vignettes and things like that. It's definitely becoming more and more popular, and I think it's just a great way to set off your model, because although they look good like this, beautiful work, putting them into a little scene, even if it's just for like reveal photos and things like that, is a way of just displaying them and taking them just to that next level. As I said before, I've never really done it before. I've been obviously talking to Matt over the last few months, and I've got myself all the different bits and pieces you could ever need to do it. He was saying, I'll come down and I'll show you. And then obviously we filmed it. So it's a complete beginner's guide to doing this, really, from going through and getting this one done. So that was the thing to it. So if I just move these slightly out of the way a minute, just to give us a bit more room, and we look on the overhead, you can probably see what we've got here. So we've done the sort of base for this. The actual aircraft isn't stuck down yet, but hopefully you'll get the idea of it again. So again, we've gone through. So again, this is just XPS high density foam, which has made up the actual base of it. And then we've gone around and we've used another bit at the back. We've carved it to shape with a hot wire cutter. And then we've used putties and textures and everything else to go right the way over this. Then we've obviously used static grass. So we've got static grass on here. Then we've used garden soil, which literally I show you me baking it 20 minutes at 180 degrees. To kill off all the bugs, sieve it, and then obviously decide which bits we're going to use. Then we've used obviously some of the soil, we've used some of the stones to it, and some of the little rocks obviously out of the garden to go round and do this. Then the entire thing had a coat of black, including the grass, so everything just went black, and then we just went round and we started to colour it all in. And that's the thing to this one. It's absolutely great because you can then choose your style of what it wants to be. So we've done this one sort of, you know, European theatre, but obviously if you want to do North Africa, you just change out obviously with the static grass, perhaps with more sort of taller grasses, things like that. And obviously they would have been dried out. So with the yellow tones and things like that, and the golden tones definitely for grasses. And obviously same goes with the base of it as well. This one sort of got an old worn out base onto this one that the aircraft sat in, basically like a little revetment for it. So yeah, and really enjoyed doing it. And then obviously going through with lots of hand painting and detailing and adding lots of bits and pieces right the way over it until we've got the finished little result just down in here. I said before, it's a very much a beginner's guide. I'm sure if you do this all the time, you'll be saying, oh, you've done that wrong, you should do it like this and all the rest of it. I'm learning, just hopefully you'll be learning as well. So what I'm going to start to do is edit this on Sunday. There's a lot. There's literally, I think there's like 5.5 hours of video, raw footage to go through. And obviously I've put it into sort of sections. So we should get the next part up, I would have thought, mid next week. And then obviously I'll break it down to how many parts or which areas. So perhaps cutting the foam and then obviously covering it and doing all the bits and pieces, a bit perhaps on just static grass, a bit on the textures with the painting and stuff. So they'll go into sort of bite-sized sections. And what I'll do is I'll move it over to the tutorial area so that can live there. You can go back and get it free for your reference at any time. I've got the bug for this now. So I must admit, I've been on Amazon, I've been on various online stores, including obviously the PM store as well, and bought loads of stuff for it. So I've got static grass applicators coming, I've got hot wire cutters coming and all the rest of it. And I must admit, I've got itching now to get on with another one. So I really want to do the one for the bulldozer because I promised that would just be half of the build. We would do one. And with obviously the knowledge I gained from this and your help from you guys as well, filling me with a few little tips and tricks, that obviously we'll be doing one for the bulldozer. And then I'd like to do 2 general ones. As you know, I do a lot of aircraft. That's sort of where my passion is. I'd like to do a modern runway section, perhaps a little bit like a HAS section, something else like that, or some revetments, definitely for that type of thing. And then I'd like to do a World War II one, a little bit bigger for this. And again, maybe sort of, you know, more of a desert environment, and then obviously perhaps northern theatre like this one is. This one's great for 48 scale aircraft, but I like to have bigger ones so I could get maybe a 30-second one onto it, and then just as a photographic backdrop for when we finished our builds and stuff like that. So again, and then maybe some just little ones here and there dotted around and all over it. So really got into it. It has been a lot of fun. As I said, very much a steep learning curve because I knew nothing about this, and I've learned just absolute tons right the way through with it. So hopefully I can pass some of that on to you guys who want to give it a go as well. Because to be honest, although we often say this is art form and all the rest of it, that proper is, because again, it's completely up to you. You obviously use reference photos, and we did with this particular one. But at the end of the day, it's going to end up as your work totally. A model, doesn't matter if 100 of us built this, it all look the same. Obviously, the weathering and the painting would give it a different feel. But obviously, with dioramas and stuff, it's totally up to you. And again, there's loads of really, really good people online. I've been watching Night Shift, never seen any of his stuff before. You think I've been doing this 20 years. And watching his videos as well. He's absolutely great for it. And there's a few others on there that obviously I'll give a worthy mention to as we make our way through with some of these as well. But anyway, that was all going to be up with you, hopefully, probably mid to late next week. And then obviously it'll be a little series that will follow on with those ones as we make our way on with that one. But as I said, have had a lot of fun working on with that one. The other big one we've been working on as well is this little lady. So as I said, we did the chipping on this. Again, it's all literally a loose fit here. None of the glass work. This is all literally loose fits, and the top bits are loose fit and all the rest of it. This is literally just had a wash this morning. So we've sort of really nailed down the weathering on this one, give it a nice wash and all of that. Next up for this, it's going to have a filter. So it's going to have a filter right the way over it, really to gnarly it down and give it that sort of really worn out North African Egyptian type feel to this one. And then obviously after that, we'll be popping in with neat oils for doing like more fading work and more desert and dusty look to it and everything else like that. And then hopefully we get it up onto its gear. Once it's on its gear and everything else like that, then we can certainly then move on with the weathering. And then again, we'll need a base for this one as well at some point, but that will come along in the future. So next up for this, really get that wash onto it. We'll get the engines done, get the gear done for it, and we can really start to push on with this one as well. But as you'll see in a minute, we've done loads of work on that one this week as well. So that's all going along really very, very nicely indeed. So we'll pop these on so we don't lose them. Last up this week, we were working on this, which we've pretty much come to the end of this particular build. I think we're going to have one more little part on this one just to finish this off, which we'll obviously complete that on Tuesday. I put it on its gear on the members live show last night, so that all just went in like that. But this little one is the Hobby Boss 148 scale Mark 1 Hurricane. And apart from these exhausts looking way, way too big, actually, I think the rest of it is looking very, very nice indeed. So thoroughly enjoyed this. But again, more about that one in a little bit later. Anyway, all started off on Monday, where I need to move some of this because I can't get in. Here we go. Where we obviously carried on with the actual Beaufort as well. So we're into the painting section. So really down on this one, we got the nice aluminium coat underneath so we could show our chipping coming through with this one. So we put a nice base coat of aluminium right the way over. Then we used hairspray. So the cheapest hairspray you can find. I decanted it obviously into a little glass jar, and then I just brushed it in the areas where we wanted it over the tops of the wing. So we're thinking obviously seam lines, panel lines, things like that, a lot of the riveting detail, those types of area right the way over it. Next up, the first coat went on, so we went down with the midstone. This is the Real Colours lacquers. So we went with those on and we put that one down just like that. Right the way over it, and then we faded it back. So actually we went in, did a little bit of fading on this one, as you can see. So just fading out the centers of the panels and all things like that, because again, this one's going to be nice and worn out, as you probably saw a minute ago with that one. And that will get you to that section there. So members, if you want to go off and see that one, that's part 7. It's around about half an hour video as always, and you can catch up with me doing the actual weathering work, or the first stage of the weathering work and the paint work on that particular one just down in there. So again, you can crack on with that one. Tuesday, obviously, it was me and Matt. We had our little live show. If I just fast forward down in here, you can see us. Again, because we were working on the said diorama, the one obviously in front of me now, we were all over the place with the show. So it was a little bit like winging it to start with, but we were talking about all the various bits and pieces of the diorama, of how it's actually going to work and everything else like that. And then I carried on to a little bit more with the Hurricane. So we did the actual props. We got those ones sorted and stuff like that. And then we were trying to find and get installed as well those pesky intakes, which, exhausts, which, yeah, they're just gnarly and don't seem to fit very well at all. And again, mine are still actually a soft fit. They're just pushed in. I might trim them back a little bit so they fit a little bit nicer, but I do believe they don't stick out that far. But it's the only fault I've actually found with this kit, because I couldn't get them in. They just wouldn't go in full stop. Anyway, you can catch up with that show. It's free to watch. It's around about, an hour and 45 minutes on that particular one. So if you want to see me and Matt, we're talking about the Land Rover that's just been coming to stock as well, PM. and a few of the other bits as well. So anyway, that is free to watch. You can go off and you can see that one right now. PM show was with me and Matt again, because obviously Matt was there with me, and we were discussing obviously how we were getting on with said diorama, but obviously everything that's new in stock and coming through as well. Obviously, what's new in at the PM store, they've got the panel liners in and all the rest of it. We were talking about those ones. We were talking about the pre-orders, so we've got the Washingtons coming in as well. So we've got those ones as well as the Super Fortresses. And then again, we've got various ones like the Edards. This is going to be the Kinetic Starfighter as well in that particular kit. Plus the fact we're answering all your questions and all the other bits and pieces and generally just chatting about stuff that's going on in the hobby as well. Again, as always with the PM show, it is a free to watch video. You can go off and see that one right now. Last night was the live show. So obviously we're talking about all about the base and going through all the different bits and pieces of this. It was the members night, but we were looking at various things like reference photos and like with the mud and the various things. And we found this hanger as well in Belgium that's made to look like a load of houses, and say what a great diorama that would make. Watch this space. So yes, some really, really nice ones. Plus the fact, obviously, we're doing a little bit of work. I was working on the actual, Hurricane still. Matt was doing the figures for obviously the base that we got in front of me as well. So we were looking at him do that one. And plus the fact, as always, we were answering all the members' questions and hopefully giving a few tips and tricks of what we would get up to right the way through, including what Matt's been spending a fortune on eBay this week. As we can see, including John's notoriously dodgy wingtips on his Stuka. So, and again, Andy was busy working away on his Spitfire. We were all watching him take the decals all off because he didn't like them. And then something weird happened. We're still not sure what that is up there. And obviously Nathan was very, very busy as well, working on with his bits. And he's got loads of stuff on the go at the moment as well. So anyway, that's the live show. It was up yesterday. You do have to be a member to see the members live show. Obviously full details as always on Patreon and all the other places as always. And that brings us up to today. So part 8 of the actual with the Beaufort, we're talking about camo. So because it's a worn out camo, as I call it, we want it to have a nice faded edge and all the rest of it. So to be honest with you, real colours again, we went in with the old earth, a dark earth, right the way over it with a feathered edge. So nice soft edges to it, as you can see in here, to give it that nice worn look right the way through. And then obviously we were fading it back just the same way as we did the yellow in preparation for obviously going in and chipping it. So again, right the way through on that one, as you can see. And again, showing the difference between sort of hard edgy type camos and then a soft worn edge camo on there, as you can see down below. Then a case of a lot of people always tell you that you can't actually chip through lacquer paints. Something I hear all the time, and something I've often thought, well, I do it all the time, so I thought I'd show you in detail. There is a standalone video for this one. It's available in the tutorial section as well. But basically, I call it the scratch card technique. So you've got the actual, as you would have seen before, the hairspray, which is obviously acrylic, underneath the lacquer. The lacquer's been drying now for a couple of days by the time I did this, to be honest. So it's not like it had just been done and gone soft. It completely cured. If you put down sort of, I believe it is, alcohol-based airbrush cleaner, the Vallejo one works really well. It will soften. It eats into the surface of the lacquer paint and it will literally start to soften it. It won't just tear it away like it would do if it was acrylic, but it definitely softens it. So then if you start going around and you start scratching at it just to get it going, and then obviously the water can get in, it's like a scratch card. It literally scrapes away. So you can go in and actually scrape away to do your chipping effects right the way through with a cocktail stick. To go through, and obviously you only go down as far as the actual next coat underneath, so as long as you're a little bit careful, you can sand it as well, but it is soft. So what you need to do is once it's done, you let it completely dry, and when it's completely dry, and then you can carry on with it again. But again, it does soften it just a little bit, enough to do chipping work with lacquers anyway, because I know a lot of people say you can't do that. So anyway, I thought I'd show you you can. All right, so that's down in there just like that. So as you can see, it was, to be honest with you, an incredibly busy week. It was one of those ones, getting this done in 2 days, I think was nothing short of a miracle. And I think Matt even surprised himself that we managed to do this in 2 days, because again, we had other shows to do and bits and pieces as well. So it's not like we were completely out this solid for 48 hours. So, but no, it's turned out really well. So, still got bits to come on this one. Matt's doing the figures as we speak. We're going to have some figures working on this one, working on the engine. We've got some trestle tables coming, some drums as well, some other bits and pieces to go on here to complete off this diorama. There's a few other little bits to do with the aircraft, just to tie it in with the weathering as well. So, we'll be doing a little bit of shading so it's in the environment. So, again, that will be a final part with this particular one. As I said, stand by for it. Editing wise, it's a nightmare because we are all over the place doing this. So it's going to take me a little bit to get my head around it. But I'm hoping by mid to end of next week, part one of that will be up with you as well. And then hopefully, as I say, with this little guy, we'll be pushing on really nicely. We're going to get the filter work done on this probably on Monday. And then Tuesday, Wednesday, we're getting it into oils and stuff like that. So Tuesday afternoon show, we'll be live with you at 3 o'clock on YouTube. We'll be finishing off the Hurricane as well, putting the final touches onto that, get the nav lights on, last little bit of weathering, things like that, completing off that little kit, which has been an absolute joy as well. And that is about it for this week. Anyway, over onto the PM store. They've had, at last, the delivery from Tamiya in. So Tamiya paints are back in stock. Some of the LP paints, I'm not saying all of them because we actually haven't seen it yet. But the box arrived this morning with it all in. So when it all gets packed up today, by the time you see this, hopefully a lot of those will be back in stock, as you know. And again, we've got various new tools and paints and all these things. We've had massive restocks of AK stuff has actually come in. As I said last week, they're selling really, really well. The panel liners are now in as well. And again, a lot of the other weather in stock is now back in as well. One of the big questions, obviously, I've been asked over the last sort of week from doing this is about us stocking all this stuff. So we will be stocking a lot of the terrains that I've been using, the terrain textures and stuff like that. They're going to be on order now. So hopefully they'll be in stock within a week or two as well. So when you see all about the actual diorama, I'll put links to it all into here so you can grab it, various things. All right. So again, you get all your bits and pieces just down in there. New arrivals wise, again, it's a little bit quiet, but we have got the Spitfire back in as well. So if you fancy doing the actual Mark 5, 6, 7, 8, you can do that one as well. That's new. And the ICM figures, which are quite generic ones, I think you can use those with other helicopters as well. They're in stock, as well as the new tooled 1/35th scale late production Cobra. So that one is back in. And again, the Buccaneer we haven't seen for a little while as well. They are now all in stock this week. So if you want to grab those, you can do. And obviously those Land Rovers, I will get the review done for you next week. Unfortunately, everything went on this week. I just haven't had time to do any reviews at all. So we will get on with those ones. Special offers area, again, literally it's just the last of the Hellcats. That's just down in there pretty much as it was before, as is the damage section, things like that. But if you do want to pop over, don't forget you get all your bits and pieces, all your paints, your tools, your sundries, your kits, and everything else like that. Just pop over to pmmodelsuk.com and we'll make sure you're all on the right track with that one. And that is about it for this week. What a busy week. It's going to take me forever to edit this, but I think it'll really be worth it. So if you've ever had a wonder, honestly, it's not as technical as it looks. It looks very technical, but you'll be amazed how quickly and how easily it is to produce something like this. And then obviously with a little bit of knowledge like this, you can go on then to do the really good stuff and really the complicated stuff as well. But once you get the footing in for it and understand how it all works, you know, the different things which Matt talks about, different angles and heights in your dioramas and things like that, it sort of drops in place and makes a lot of sense. So it's not like voodoo magic, I haven't got a clue. It does make sense as we go through, and I'm really looking forward to doing some more of these in the future as well. Anyway, that's it from me. Happy modelling, take care. As always on a Friday, I'm going to leave you with your great work from the gallery. So until next week, everybody, happy modelling.
I was not ready to fall in like I'm wasted. My heart grows heavy. Don't taste me rushing. Keep your words naked. You got me blushing. And you forever I'll follow. You'll be my holy ground. You forever I'll follow. In immortality. answer.